Hey, Mistakes listeners, this is Dave, and welcome back. And this week we looked at a show called The Muppets. I'm pretty sure everybody knows what The Muppets is about, but this is the new Muppets, the 2015 Muppets. I think it just started its series this fall, so we actually sat down and watched episode 1. For us, this is episode 30. This podcast was recorded on 10/12/2015 or October 12th, 2015. As you know, you can follow us on Twitter at Parent Mistakes, and you can follow us or like us on Facebook at Parenting Mistakes. Sit back and enjoy the show.
So I have to assume that there are certain things that you're excited about your kids seeing at some point.
Absolutely.
Down
in
the road.
In fact, I have some family friends that came over and borrowed all 6 episodes of Star Wars, right, because they wanted to do it proper. And they've been showing them Star Wars for the past 3 weeks as, they're getting ready for the big show coming up in December.
Did you advise them on what order to watch them?
I don't. I typically don't.
Okay. Because that's like a theological argument.
the how you should be watching Star Wars?
Well, yeah, if you have never seen Star Wars, should you watch it 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, or should you watch it in chronological order 1 through 6?
See, but I am a bigger nerd, way bigger nerd than you'll ever be. And a lot of the people that
I'll buy that.
If you ask me a recommendation, I'll actually let you have my Clone Wars first. Like, if you're trying to introduce your kids to the Star Wars world.
The cartoon?
I love it, right? And I like it a lot. I do. I know. But there are lots of things to recommend in canon Star Wars.
Okay.
Right? Like, that line up with the movies that JJ and everybody, Kathleen Kennedy, are all basically saying these are canonized elements of Star Wars now. There's that new book called Star Wars Aftermath. Would you recommend that? It's canon. Right?
Right.
So I don't. I used to, but now I don't.
Can I tell you a side note on Star Wars? And this actually does sort of apply to parenting.
Okay.
I really love Star Wars. I've loved it since I saw it as a kid. You and I grew up sort of in the golden age of Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars New Hope. You're talking the what we used to know as Star Wars.
Correct. Well, you and I were younger kids, but not too young. We were old enough to see the movies in the theater.
I was 6 when I saw it.
It captured our imagination. It, probably had some influence on our lives. I'm somewhat excited about the movie, though I'm apprehensive because I'm not 6 or 7 anymore, so that mystique is gone. Mm-hmm. I'm at a point right now, also as a parent, I am already so sick of Star Wars hype. Mostly from a merchandise standpoint. Sure. I'm seeing this stuff everywhere. Now, I'm at a point now as a parent where my kids are a little older, and so I don't have to worry about walking down the aisle at Target or Costco or wherever we are and them freaking out because, oh, look, there's this amazing new toy, and I have to, swing down a different aisle so we can avoid that section. It's kind of a nice place to be as a parent because I can just sort of go, okay, I don't have to worry about this as much, but I'm already sick of this.
Yeah.
So I asked the question because we're going to sort of lead right into the show for tonight, which was The Muppets. Yes?
We're doing The Muppets, yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. I am actually captivated by what you're having to say because I think it's interesting, right? I'm like, sorry, I kind of zoned in on you and I'm like, what else is he going to say? Yes, we are doing The Muppets tonight.
I'm just going to leave you right there hanging on the cliff. And then
you're talking about you're sick and tired of
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Right.
Right.
But I was thinking about this because, again, it was fun for my kids to see Star Wars for the first time. The movies.
Yeah. No. Right. You didn't go with the Dave Kidney recommendation of the Clone Wars first.
No.
Okay.
And it's not like I have the same thing about the Muppets because did you watch the original Muppet Show?
Oh, yes. Of course I did.
Okay. We grew up with the Muppets. They had a number of movies. They're still making movies.
They are.
And somehow they still rebrand this, and they're also buddies now with Disney, and so they've got some cross promotion there. So I don't necessarily put like the original Muppet Show on the same list as, say, Star Wars. I'm not eager to show my kids
The Muppet Show.
yeah, the old one. I think we've seen a couple of episodes.
I'm assuming they've watched Sesame Street.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they watched Sesame Street as kids.
So, a lot of that is derived from puppets.
Sure.
Muppets.
So I was intrigued by this new Muppets show, and we watched season 1, episode 1, because this is brand new.
Mm-hmm.
It is just out. I think it's in its 3rd or 4th week as we record this particular episode.
Yeah, it's coming into its 4th week this week.
Yeah. So this is a different take on the Muppets. It is still the Muppets. It's still based around the general plot of there being a show. Now the show is a fictional late-night talk show hosted by Miss Piggy.
Mm-hmm.
And you still have a lot of the major characters from the original show. You have a few add-ins from the movies. And you also are doing a similar thing that you did in the old show, where you have celebrities dropping in.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the old show actually did have that behind. They were always building up for the big event show, right? Or the show is taking place. John Denver shows up, and he is working behind the scenes with them and getting off to do performances up in the front stage.
Yes. So it's the same behind the scenes thing. They're borrowing a bit from sort of your
So the way I saw it as 30 Rock. I was like, this is 30 Rock, and they've just taken a lot of 30 Rock and put in the show. They've got the writer's room. Yes. The original show for 30 Rock that they were doing it was the Girly Show, right? And now it's the Miss Piggy Show. You've got all these quirky characters that are trying to give jokes and humor to Kermit to basically give the show, it's the writer's room, the creative process, you're involved in it, right?
You've also added in elements of the Office,
right,
where they take characters out and interview them.
Sure, it's the mockumentary.
Off camera type of thing.
Mm-hmm. It's the mockumentary. It's all derived from Spinal Tap, right?
Right. So, here's the thing. This one's a little different, isn't it?
It is. It is so weird. It is so weird how much it's the same, but completely different at the same note. It is, and here's the unfortunate part. From what I understood, this is actually a lot of what happened in the latest Muppet movie. A lot of the same humor, a lot of this mockumentary style, this idea that the Muppets kind of coexist in our world and that they are now interacting with us. They have similar issues that we do. They're not just uniquely Muppet. They actually have a lot of the same problems, heartaches, frustrations that we now do. Versus kind of living in this Muppet world that perhaps you'd get a star that would go to the Muppet world, right? Mark Hamill might show up, and it's Mark Hamill in the Muppet world. But now it really feels like these guys are on the studio lot. In fact, they say it. You see it. You see them on the studio lot. It's very, very grounded in quote-unquote reality now.
Yes. They're driving cars on the freeways. We're seeing them in domestic situations.
Well, Fozzie Bear is dating a girl.
Right. Goes to meet the parents.
She's a human, right?
Right.
They're completely upset that she is dating a bear.
Right.
Right? Oh my gosh, the amount of innuendo in this show. I couldn't believe what I was watching from time to time, right?
Yes. So I wanted to watch this just because I was curious about the show. I sort of knew where we were going to go in terms of looking at it through the lens as a parent.
Sure.
So here's the really obvious thing. This is not a kid's show.
It is not a kid's show. I 100% agree with you.
Any way, shape, or form. The old Muppet Show, I would say, was a kid's show. Even though you had adults, even though you had sort of... I wouldn't call the old show adult humor, it was jokes that adults would get. I think there's a difference there. I think there's adult content, and then there's just writing sometimes that the writers know parents are watching, and they know that they will get the reference either to a real life situation, or they'll use a word that's a bigger word than a kid would know anyway, but the parent will see the irony of using that word and that sort of thing. And I almost feel like I don't know. It's really a dilemma when I watch this type of a show to sort of say, is a network trying to say, we're going to still try to make this a family show? It's still on an earlier time slot, and it's still featuring puppets that have historically been targeted towards kids.
Yeah, but we're living in the age of The Simpsons now, right? When the Muppets came on, there was no such thing as The Simpsons. Maybe the Flintstones were prime time. They were probably the first to do it. But in this world, right, parents or adults totally watch The Simpsons, and it's very friendly-looking animation, right, that, quote-unquote, a kid might look at and say, wow, it's The Simpsons, or even South Park for that matter, right?
Yeah, but I feel like the Muppets have still maintained sort of their, I don't know what you want to call it, moral standards through quite a long period of The Simpsons and South Park.
Mm-hmm.
The Simpsons and South Park effect is not brand new. How
yeah,
old is The Simpsons now? It's been around for a long time.
It's true, but the Muppet Show went off in the 80s.
Early 80s, yes.
And then it came back as Muppet Babies. I don't remember a quote-unquote primetime Muppet Show being on air since then. I could be completely wrong about that.
No, I don't think there was either.
But times have changed since the Muppets left primetime, right?
Yeah, but I'd say even the last couple of movies, I mean, they sort of rebooted. I don't know if you'd call it a reboot, but they just sort of did
they're just continuations. They're more of a reflection of our world, per se.
Right. Up-to-date celebrities and that sort of thing. I would say even the last two movies were still fairly kid-oriented, clean, and sort of your classic Muppet slapstick, physical comedy, goofy songs, that sort of thing.
Yeah, now, and even watching this episode, there were... Okay. So this is where it gets, and you're right, this is where it gets very strange. But when, so what I feel like is, I never really liked the Muppets growing up, but I endured it because we got to stay up late to watch it. Endured it. I did watch it, right? But it never was totally appealing to me. It wasn't a brand that I went, oh my gosh, I can hardly wait. I got to get all Kermit stuff. I got all Miss Piggy stuff. I got to get all this stuff, right?
Right.
Pigs in space. There are lots of quotes from the show and stuff, but we all kind of went through it.
Right.
This is where it gets weird. This is the first time I actually ever laughed at the Muppet Show.
Oh, this is hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
As an adult.
I'm like, it's basically what happened was, the show that we kind of had to watch it's so tough because I'm like, I did my Muppet discipline, and I feel like in a way that I kind of deserve the show that we've received now. Because I'm like, I totally understand these characters. I get them. He's still Fozzie Bear, but he's making gay jokes now, right? And the way that it was done was really clever, right? It was funny, and I cracked up when he said it.
Yes, when Kermit says that his life is a bacon-wrapped hell.
No, that was actually the eagle.
Well, no, Kermit says that, and then the eagle, Sam the American Eagle, comes by.
That's right.
Can't say hell.
That's right.
I mean, and the interesting thing is, as a watcher, you do see that they are sort of poking fun at their own sort of stepping outside of their family-friendly zone.
Right.
Like, they know, it's almost like they're there watching with us, sort of poking fun of themselves.
Right.
So I guess I can respect that. I still wouldn't say, sure, let your kids watch.
No, it's totally geared for Gen X. This is a Gen X show, and they were hitting all of my beats. And I am a huge Office watcher. I have watched The Office multiple times, so immediately I got it. I felt like I wish they could come up with a little more creativity other than just to do the mockumentary style.
Right.
But I'd say the humor was spot on. But do I want my kids watching this with me? Absolutely not. They just wouldn't get it. And what's happened now, which is interesting, is that now that they've opened up this door, I don't know if they could ever really go back to being that classic slapstick Muppet show.
Right. Which is sort of unfortunate in some ways. I mean, as you said, yeah, you've now, I don't want to say the word tainted, but you have taken the brand to an adult level. And yet you're still going to have all the movies. I wouldn't be surprised if they still made another movie. You've still got tie-ins with Disney.
Yeah, see, like I said, if my kids watched any of the Muppet movies, like even the Muppet movie, and they said, I want to watch the Muppets tonight, they're two different things now. And that is weird.
Right.
It's a very strange branding. By the way, I asked my parents, they were looking forward to that first episode of the Muppets. They couldn't stand it. They were absolutely disappointed. Yeah, because they're a different generation than they were expecting the Muppets to be what they expected from the 70s. And instead they've got all this real... It's just weird, right? There's some awkwardness to it. It's very awkward. It's that awkward humor.
Right.
Right? The whole sequence with Scooter, and he's being pushed off the cart, and he's trying to get back on, absolutely hilarious. Yeah. And that was classic Muppets to me. Right? Like, there's this slapstick element that's going on, and Scooter's trying to take command of it, and he can't. And the guest host just keeps on pushing him off and stuff. It was great. It was a good sequence.
Well, and when you have things like, Sam the American Eagle is listing the words to Kermit that they can't use on the show anymore.
Right.
And he says gesticulate. And Kermit's like, that just means to move your arms. And he goes, well, it still can't say it.
Yeah.
And then there's they tell the band that they're in a meeting right now. And Zoot, I think it's Zoot, the sax player, stands up and tries to start doing like an AA type of thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean.
An Animal has got a problem with women. Like, he can't go on the road because the innuendo there is that he just has a lot of relationships with women on the road.
Women on the road.
Too many women. I can't handle myself.
Right. He's a rock star. So, I mean, I wasn't disappointed because I sort of saw this coming. Because when I had seen the promo commercials, they had dropped in just little bits and pieces of that, and I went, you know what? I think this is going to be a different thing.
Yeah, so here's the thing, and this I've seen this a little bit elsewhere as well, which is if we were to have received the same old Muppet show, the risk there is that people would just kind of tune it out, right? Like, it's the same old Muppets. To be really interesting, I don't know if you've watched Archie comics at all.
No.
But they are doing the exact same thing with Archie Comics. Archie Comics has been going down for years. Like, they can't sell them. And so they are now bringing all sorts of new elements into Archie Comics. I think they actually killed Archie at one point.
Okay.
And it has been wildly popular since they started doing this. And like all these new elements in Archie Comics, which it's still Archie, Jughead's still in there, but they're dealing with all sorts of hardcore issues that they've never had to deal with before, and people are loving it because it's the brand they understand, and now they're bringing it in a whole new different direction. But now that they've opened up that door for Archie, he can't go back.
Correct.
You're never going to get, the Veronica, Betty kind of... Those girls are totally different girls now. They're independent, they're hard, they're... Right? They've got their own independence. They're no longer dependent upon this, Archie, I love you. It's Veronica and Betty are their own people now, right?
Right.
You can't go back.
So I think the parenting mistake here is what you alluded to is you've now got two types of Muppets. You've got the standard old school kids Muppets, and now you've got, and again, it's not like this is, bloody violence or hardcore porn or anything like that.
No.
But it's adult. It's humor. It's sexual innuendo.
It's the first time I've been shocked in a while. It was very shocking and surprising.
Yeah, I don't know if I was shocked. I mean,
I didn't expect it. I didn't. I thought, oh, it's going to be a classic Muppet Show. I'd heard some rumors that it was different, but some of the things they were saying was like, I can't believe this is happening. I just watched that.
Right. And again, I'm not surprised at all. I don't think any of it surprised me. Combination of the promos and just sort of saying, this is where TV has gone. We have to, they have to inject, particularly again, because this is primetime TV. This is not necessarily, this isn't the world where we grew up where there was sort of like, okay, anything before this hour is kind of family friendly. After this hour, as you said, once The Simpsons and South Park came out, it's kind of the wild, wild west in a lot of ways. No. So I think the mistake is to sort of assume that this is just the Muppets.
Muppets.
And again, parents have to be aware that this is a different thing. That if they want their kids to do the Muppets, you're going to have to sort of differentiate between these two.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how does that lead into our initial question with Star Wars?
Well, it's the initial question of your relationship with a brand from your childhood.
Okay. That's what I wanted to hear.
That's where I was going full circle.
So that's the full circle right there.
Because again, as just like a number of other things that we've seen, when there's a reboot, you're talking about trying to re-engage a prior generation while at the same time selling it to a new generation. And so the humor of this show is, as you said, targeted to us. This show is targeted to us.
This show is meant for Gen X. No doubt about it.
It's meant for adults that grew up with this brand.
Yeah.
And they're hoping that they now bring their kids along.
Yeah.
And sort of suck them into either this show or just the franchise just in general. So
it's a huge risk, a huge gamble. And I guarantee you this, Todd, because you're already sick of Star Wars, they're not going to be doing this with Episode 7. They're going to play it as safe to home as they possibly can.
They might, yeah.
I'm predicting it right now that it'll be a very, very safe movie because, boy, those fans, they are just crazy.
Yes, and they want the kids, they want to engage the kids, and they want them to bring the kids along.
Yep.
So
they're not going to be making a Muppet leap here.
No. Episode 9 is going to get dark and ugly. Right?
Yeah, it's time to take You know where they're going to take the risks? This is where they're going to be taking the risks. It's the Star Wars offshoots like Rogue One, where they're just going to be delving into this corner of the galaxy that they've never explored before. And that director is directing at Star Wars that he can direct anything he wants. It's going to be lots of fun. This is why JJ's not going to do Episode 8. It's too much.
Right.
It's such a tight rope. It's crazy.
You can follow us on Twitter.
Yes, you can.
You can follow us on Twitter.
Yes.
Like us on Facebook.
Yes.
On
Please
Twitter,
do.
we're Parent Mistakes. On Facebook, we're Parenting Mistakes.
And we keep on asking for feedback and recommendations, without a doubt.
Yes, because we would love to watch what you want us to watch.
This is true.
Yes.
All right. Until next time.